Welcome back, guys, and in today's video we're going to be changing my 2011 Scion TC's alternator, and this honestly goes with almost any other car. The only difference is mainly where the alternator is at, and also what type of tensioner it has, if it has a tensioner pulley or if it has a mechanism like a 2001 Camry. I believe it has like a rod that you tension it up, so it's a little bit different on certain vehicles, but for the majority of the job is pretty much the same. So let's jump right into it.
So let's get started, guys. This is a clip of the bad alternator and the good one. This way you can guys hear the difference between the pulleys inside. So you guys can hear there's nothing. You guys can hear all that rustling going on the old one. Now you're gonna hear some on the new one, but not as this. Not like this. This is a worn out bearing inside, and it's causing the alternator to give us some problems. Now that we're outside in the car, we're going to use a 10mm wrench or socket. We're going to take the battery terminals off. Anytime that you're messing with anything, wires, anything electrical that can cause a shortage and mess up the computer, just make sure to take off that battery. Wait 15 to 20 minutes, or just try to turn on the key without the battery on. That way all the power that is stored in the lines gets drained. I'll pry it off right there. A lot of acid. I'm going to clean that at the end. Now we're going to use a 19mm wrench to pull the tensioner back and make it easier for us to take that belt off. Now I use this method because using a pry bar is a little bit harder trying to stick it down there. As you guys can see, I'm using a socket and a 14mm to take off the bolts from the alternator. So what I did with the socket was I placed it on the tensioner. That way it didn't go all the way back, because it goes farther than the mount, so it would be harder to pull it back. That's why I put it right there. As you guys can see, we're going to take some wires off from the alternator itself. That way it can come out. That way we don't damage anything. So you guys can see this wire at the bottom is a clip. So you press the clip, you pull it out, and it's free. There's this little holder. I believe it's a 10mm. Just take it off. That way the wires are not attached to the alternator. Now the terminal, I believe it's a 12mm. It's a 12mm or a 10mm. Just take it off and you pop it right up. Pry this off. I'm sorry that I didn't take video of me taking the bolts off. The top one is very easy. The bottom one gives you a little bit more challenge because it does kind of hit the sidewall, as you guys can see. But right here is the water pump. So if you need to change the water pump, and here's your thermostat if you guys got to change it. Now I'm going to put the new one back in. And yeah. So a quick tip here that, have a little bit of time. The bottom bolt is a little difficult because you don't have a lot of space to actually fully turn the bolt. So it's either you take forever with a wrench going back and forth, or you try to use a socket with a ratchet like you see on the car right now. So I did it with the socket the majority of the way, but you can't go farther enough because the wrench gets stuck. So you just got to take it off at the end with your wrench. Now it's a 14mm. So right here, as you guys can see, is giving me a little trouble with the oil level stick, but we finally get it back in. Finally put the new alternator where it's supposed to be. Just be very careful. We don't want to damage any wires or drop the alternator on accident and have to go purchase another one. As you guys can see right there, I moved that to the side. Is the little clip that holds the wires away from kind of where the car is rotating. You guys can see, I believe that was a 12mm, either a 12 or a 10. I'm sorry for these little accessories. I did not record what size it was, but it gives you a little bit more space to take it out and put the alternator back in. You guys can see that socket back again, putting back the bolt, just like so. That socket is a huge help. Just remember not to put a socket that you're going to use. That's the mistake that I did. I had to pry the pry the tensioner back and take the socket that I needed. But as you guys can see right here, you have very little space to actually do it because of the pulley where the belt goes, but it just takes time. It's not hard. Now I'm just putting all the accessories back. Make sure to put them back. You guys can see that clip clicks onto the metal part that we moved out of the way. We're going to put the terminal back on. The brand new alternator comes with its nut, so you don't have to save the old one. Now putting everything back together just like you took it off. It's a pretty easy job. It's just time consuming. I'm sorry that I'm doing kind of a voiceover. The reason is I can't work on the cars outside of where I live, so I have to try to do it as quick as possible on the weekends. So see, it's right there. You put it back, then you tighten it up. That way it doesn't go anywhere. Nighttime already. Yup. Now before we put the terminals back on, we're going to clean all that acid. Like I told you, we want those terminals to have a good connection on those connectors. So we're going to clean it up, make sure it's nice and clean. That way when you're out and about, you take your old lady out, you don't get stranded because there's no power going to your accessories. So take it back out, put it back on with a 10 millimeter, and you're kind of done there. Just place them back, put the positive first, put the negative second, and yeah, you're mainly done here, and you have fixed your alternator.
And that is it, guys. You guys are pretty much ready to fully do an alternator job on your car. And honestly, if you guys are here for the TC, we're going to be coming out with a lot more. We're actually coming out with a video for the thermostat. We got a code, and technically we diagnosed that the thermostat was stuck open. So we're gonna bring that video out. We're almost done with it. So if you guys are interested in it, make sure to subscribe. And also, I have a little update on the Scion. That's another video that is going to be coming up, and that way you guys know what the plan is for it and what we're planning on doing with it. So we actually have some big plans for it, so make sure to stick around. Anyways, hope I inspired you. Other than that, deuces. Yeah, fade it to black. Yeah, just fade it. Just, yeah. Oh.